G'day guys, how you all doing? Yeah, it's me. Everything's okay. Everything's golden. Okay. I want to thank the people that have been reaching out to me in the comments section, asking me if everything's okay, asking if I'm alright, how things are going, am I going to be doing more videos, etc, etc. Yes, everything is okay, 100%. In regards to the videos, I will try to get videos out every once in a while. Currently, I am extremely busy. I'm back in California now, and that's the God's honest truth. I'll do a video about that here coming up. And there's a reason why I am actually back in California, and that is I moved back down here to put myself back in the money. The Pacific Northwest is absolutely beautiful. Where I was living at the foothills of the Olympic National Forest was an absolutely stunning place to live. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I thoroughly enjoyed being able to get out into the mountains, out into the trails, and I still want to head back up there and actually spend more time. I feel like out of this much I saw like maybe just a fraction of the beauty that is up there, and I'd love to be able to move back up there or spend time up there and make more videos up in that particular region of the United States, and actually other regions around the United States, but more about that in a little bit here. The reasons why I moved back to California, as much as I really truly didn't want to, was first and foremost, more than anything, with everything that's coming down the pipeline, I had to put myself back in the money. The money that I was making in Washington, working at a local dealership, I was working in sales. It's a small little dealership. Wasn't enough to keep my savings up and also live a reasonable life and to pursue my other goals of being able to get out, camping, doing camping videos and stuff like that, because I need to build my truck out. So what had happened was, when I first moved back to the United States, within a couple of months of moving back here, I'd reached out to one individual just to say, hey, how you doing? I'm back in the United States, just wanted to say hi. It's an old customer of mine, super awesome human being, like genuinely one of the best people I've ever known in my life. So what happened was he must have talked to some people, because after I reached out to that individual, I started getting, over the following year, I started getting a huge amount of, hey, are you going to be moving back to California? If you do move back down here, we'd love to have you come and work for us. We've got this project, this. I had multiple companies, shops, individuals asking me to, if I was going to be moving back down here. And if I was, let them know, etc, etc. Now, the main reason why I moved or ended up in the Washington area was I had a dear friend of mine who moved up there in 2019 after I moved down to New Zealand. And what had happened while I was down in New Zealand, during the lockdown, I was working on a project that personally myself I didn't want to be working on, because the reason why I was working through the lockdown period was to focus on the primary project that I was taken, or the primary project that I was sent down to New Zealand to work on. So I had to work on this other project. I didn't have access to the 2-post lift, and when I was letting this car down off the jack stands, the actual floor jack, which was a junk floor jack, released itself, and I got, basically I had a car fall on me. This arm got ripped back and completely tore out my rotator cuff. There's a couple of ligaments that run up through this area. They got blown out. Well, over the next 4 to 5 months, it just caused absolute chaos, not just in my rotator cuff, but more so in my scapula. And if it wasn't for an awesome trainer, a guy by the name of T.E.K in Auckland, New Zealand, I wouldn't have what I have today. My arm is fully functional. I've got, out of both arms, out of this, my right arm, my strongest arm being at 100%, this arm is most probably about 75-ish, 75%, maybe 80% actually. So when I came back to the United States, I went straight back to Seattle, or not Seattle, to an area called Grays Harbor where my friend was living, and he got me the job at the dealership because I needed to get this arm back up and working. I didn't have the strength in this arm to be able to do any serious physical work. So as the year progressed, I got my strength back, everything was starting to work right, and I started to potentially look at other job opportunities, not just here in California, but elsewhere, close to Olympia, Washington, etc., etc. So what ended up happening was I had one company reach out to me, and I was in communications with them for about 6 months, and that's when I moved back down to California. It was a perfect storm. June, the sales just went through the floor. The sales manager started feeding sales calls, or the good sales calls, the ones with the highest commissions, through to his wife, who was the finance manager. And this is just a ridiculously small dealership. There was only sales manager, finance manager, and 2 salesmen. That was it. So I was getting absolutely effed in the rear end. Basically what the sales manager was doing was stealing money from my back pocket. So between the job opportunity down here in Ventura County, between sales just crashing, then the sales manager basically stealing money off my table, there's a couple of other things that were going on. I was just like, screw it, I'm going to move back down to California. And the primary reason was to, one, put myself back in the money. Like I said, the gentleman that's funding the project is a oil magnate in Texas, so no worries there, even if the market absolutely tanks. And that was the number one reason why I moved back down here. The number one reason, because I know that the market's going to absolutely implode here in a short while. So I felt for my own personal well-being to put myself back in the money would be a very smart thing to do. The second thing was I am working towards wanting to get out into the wilderness, do more camping, and potentially start doing videos about that, etc., etc. It's a passion of mine. I loved being up in the Olympic National Forest, being around all the wilderness, the trails, just the scenery. Everything about it was just absolutely magnificent. And I would dearly love to be able to spend more time, not just in that region, but just regions all over the United States, Alaska, everywhere. I would genuinely love to be able to have a channel videoing that stuff and be able to make enough money to be able to do it full time, to be quite honest with you. But I couldn't do that up in Washington because the monthly income wasn't there. I was actually having to draw on my savings, and that's not a good position to be in any way, shape or form. So to be able to build out my truck, to be able to pursue what I want to be able to pursue, and to be able to do the things that I need to be able to do, California was the place that I legitimately had to move back to. So there you have it. I mean, that's pretty much in the nutshell. What I will try to do, I'm not going to make any promises here, I will try to get videos out. I genuinely do want to do a video on my experience when I died, and what I saw, what I experienced, and other things correlating to that. It seems right now that people are living in an extraordinary amount of fear about everything that's going on in the world, and that's understandable. I mean, we are living in a whole new time frame, a whole new time period. So I genuinely want to start sharing that side of myself with the viewers. I have an extraordinary intuitive ability. It's part of my personality as an INFJ, is my personality type. Couple that with my death, when I died, my death experience, having the hand of God pull me back in my body. There's a lot more going on there than actually meets the eye. That was also another reason why I moved back down to California. There was just certain personalities. What happens with me, just so you know, because I know some of you have seen me move around a lot. What happens being an INFJ with an even more extreme intuitive ability on top of even more extreme empathetic ability, because you have to understand, when you have the hand of God put you back in your body, you know God's love, you know God's caring, you know God's tenderness, you know all this stuff. You feel it. So when you know that and you live here in Earth, it's for a person like myself, it's a hell of a ride. It really, really, truly is. And when I mean a hell of a ride, I really do mean a hell of a ride. So what happens is, if I let people into my world on a deeper emotional level, what happens is I start to experience their feelings. I start to experience their emotions. I start to experience their life. I literally see their life through their eyes. Sincerely. Believe it or not, when my daughter was a little girl, that's how I was able to keep the mother in line, because I could see what the mother was doing through my daughter's eyes. So, good example is, the mother and I had this agreement not to let any other people into my daughter's life. Well, one night I had this vision while sitting down watching TV. It just showed up in my head, where my ex-wife is making out with a dude on the living room couch, and I was just like, son of a gun. And I jumped up, got out of my robe that I had on, just that I was wearing before I was going to go to bed, put my clothes on, shot down to the town that my ex-wife was living in, and I was showing up just as this dude was leaving. And she was just like, what the hell are you doing here? I'm like, I told you, we had an agreement, you're not meant to have any other. And it just blew her away. And that happened over and over and over and over again. So yeah, it's a really, really, really very wild experience being this individual a lot of the time. So I have to be so careful, and I'm becoming more and more and more and more aware of this as I get older now. And I've actually started doing more research actually on my personality type. When I first did the Myers-Briggs personality analysis, that was in early 2000. A friend of mine was working for a United States government federal bureau, and just as a fun and games deal, it's like, hey man, have you ever done one of these personality tests, see where your IQ's at, this, that, and everything else, see what you're good at and everything like that. It's like, nah dude, I've never done anything like that before in my life. And he's like, well, let's do one. So I did that deal, and it came back as an INFJ with a twist to it on the end, which puts me in pretty much the rarest group of people on the face, not the rarest group of people, the rarest group of men on the planet. And if anyone's interested, I can certainly talk more about that also. But as far as my intuition, my intuitive abilities to be able to predict situations, what's coming down the pipeline, all that sort of stuff, that stuff is just on fire. And the real strong, my strongest point out is being able to take microscopic pieces or small little pieces of data or information And as that information grows, I can compile a picture from that information. My mind works in an incredibly, unbelievably abstract way, and that picture ends up, all that information forms a picture. That's why I'm so good at the work that I do in regards to building custom cars, hot rods, all that sort of stuff, because you have to work in the abstract. You're working with something that's sometimes just a torn to pieces POS. And what actually makes it better for me is if I have a customer or a client who knows exactly what he wants. If the customer and the client has a vision in their head, they know exactly what they want, the intuitive side of myself can tap into them, and I can literally put out in front of them exactly what they want. Now, if a client doesn't have a full understanding of what he wants, he's not sure about this, he's not sure about that, he doesn't know about this, doesn't know what color he wants this shade, oh no, I want that shade, oh no, the scoops need to be this way, oh no, they need to be that way, no, they need, and the list goes on and on and on. If I have a customer or a client like that, it's horrible. And then if the client has high levels of anxiety, fear, he's starting to get frustrated in any way, shape or form, the whole project will just end up collapsing. Everything about the project. So it's why I was so careful about moving back down here and actually doing the work that I'm doing right now. And on top of the fact that I've known the individual that I'm working for now, like I said, I've known him for about, actually it's over 15 years now. So anyway, I'm going to leave the video at that. If any of you have any questions, anything, I know some of you are asking questions about the economy, what to do in New Zealand, different things like that. If you've got any questions, put them back out there, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Okay, so outside of that, I hope you, if you watching this right now, I hope you're doing well. I hope your life is good for you, and don't worry. I know it's a really pretty wild period of time right now. The worst thing that you can do is worry. What you need to do is just focus on yourself and take care of what you need to take care of. And like I said, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate in asking me. Okay? Bye.